Right guys, in this episode we're finally making some noise. Right guys, so in the last episode we upgraded the suspension and replaced the wheels. Now I know the car is in a bit of a filthy state at the moment, and I did say I hate a filthy car, so we will be giving this a wash. But in this episode, I did tell a little fib. We're going to be upgrading the exhaust in the intake. Now listen to this. I mean, it's okay, but not good enough for me. So we're going to be replacing the exhaust for a Milltek catback system, and we're going to be upgrading the intake system to a Pipercross cone filter system. So that's our sound upgrade, but don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm not. We've purchased a upgraded alternator to replace in the front, and we're going to be doing the big 3 upgrade. Right, let's get this into the workshop once again. Right, so now we've got the car in the workshop. Let me show you what comes as standard as an intake on this car. That's it. So it's an all integrated into the engine cover setup. Air comes in here, goes through a filter that's built into this engine cover, and then goes down into the turbo. So we're basically doing away with all of that. Let me show you what we're actually fitting. So this is it, the Pipercross intake kit. And so essentially it's a one-piece metal piping kit which has some joiners, some clamps and a filter with a heat shield on the end of it. So that's going to do away with the engine cover. We may replace that engine cover at some point for maybe a TTS one, which I believe should fit in that location but without using any of the piping. But yeah, we should be getting some nice whooshy noises for this and maybe a little bit of extra power, we'll see. So thank you very much to Pipercross for supplying this to us. Now next is the exhaust. Let me show you what we got there. Right, so here is the underneath of the car as standard. So obviously the exhaust runs through the center of the car, bit of a simple thing to say. Upright by the engine you have your main catalytic converter, and then you have a secondary cat that sits here. Now obviously we're not touching any of that. From here backwards we've got a small resonating box here which has a bypass. This connection here is where we're going from. So we're going from here all the way back, which is essentially a catback system for this car. So this is the factory resonator, and then it runs all the way back to the massive back box that these come with and the twin exit pipes. So we're replacing this part of it basically. So it should be pretty easy. Let's open up the box and see what we got inside. This will be our back box part, which essentially will sit this way around, so we'll go up like so. This will be our replacement centre pipe, which I'm assuming will go, yeah, something like that. And we got all the accessories we need. Now obviously this is from Milltek, so thank you very much Milltek for supplying this for us. So we'll start with the most kind of hands-on part, the part that we need the ramp for, which is the exhaust. So let me whiz off the stock system and we'll crack on with putting this one on. Right, so we've got the old system and the new system side by side, so you can actually physically see the difference. When you're starting at this end, I've got a reducer in here to kind of show you the difference in diameter of the piping. That's the stock diameter, which I think is like a 2-inch. Goes up to this diameter, which is like a, well, it's actually bigger. So the larger diameter pipe just increases exhaust flow, which just gives you a little bit of boost in volume and a little bit of power as well. So that's an improvement. Obviously, it's an all bent system, so it's not like TIG welded or MIG welded or anything like that, but it means it's going to fit every time perfect. And we got our hanger arms already welded on. We've got another join here, and then it goes into this nice kind of chrome rear box section. You can see the size and the difference in boxes. Obviously back here, that's our resonator. It's a non-res system, so no resonator there. Big difference in size of the boxes and volume. Now the main difference you'll see is this is a valve system from stock. To be honest, I've never ever heard the difference when it was on or off. I don't know when it was on or off, so these are a bit of a weird one, so I'm not going to really miss it. So this doesn't have a valve, but we've got these lovely chrome Milltek tips. So let's get it on the car. Definitely a lot deeper. Huh? What about half an hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Pretty good, even for me.
What's next?
Intake. Right, so inside the engine cover, we've got our mass airflow sensor, which we're going to reuse in our piping. So they've integrated the mass airflow sensor pretty well into that pipe kit there. We're going to take that out and reuse that. And sitting basically here is the stock filter. Obviously we don't need any of that, so this is coming off. It's a lot more fiddly, I'll say that, a lot more fiddly. But it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just bolting stuff together. And there's even instructions that come with this one, which is a handy thing to have. Yeah, it's just a bit awkward, that's all. I think so. I'm definitely done. Right, so it's day 2. Yesterday we managed to get completed the intake and the exhaust, as you probably saw. Didn't really take me too long. Big thank you to Milltek and Pipercross for supplying the bits for that. They went together a dream, to be honest. Today we are going to try and tackle the alternator. We have this bad boy. So this is a high output alternator. This is supplied from our friends at D2U alternators. They make high output alternators for a range of vehicles. This particular one is a 240 amp high idling current alternator. So essentially what this is for big power demands. So because we're going to be running a lot of power in this car, we need an upgraded alternator. From what I understand, in these S3s, the stock alternator amperage is about 140 amps. This is 240 amps. And even at idle, at about 800 RPM, this output's about 200 amps. So massive improvement on power output to our battery. So that way our battery voltage is not going to be dropping, we're not going to be losing power. So this is a must. Once we've got this in, we're also going to do the big 3 upgrade, another must for this kind of setup. basically 1 power cable, 2 earth cables, upgraded to 0 gauge so they can handle that high current. And yeah, I've not done this before, so it's probably going to take me a while. I probably should have thought about this yesterday and left this all off. The front bumper itself has to come off. The front crash bar, I believe, has to move forward so I can gain access to everything. AC compressor has to move out the way, and then we can get to everything and loosen off the belt, and then essentially unbolt this one, put this one in, wire it in, and we're good to go, really. So. Next is taking the front bumper off, the absolutely battered and bruised front bumper that still hasn't been repaired yet. And then this whole crash bar section has to shimmy forward somehow. Making progress, making good progress. What time is it? 11 o'clock. Because we're not disconnecting everything, obviously we've got radiator in here, so our coolant hoses go in, all sorts of washer bottle, all of that stuff. We don't want to have to disconnect all of that. So we're essentially just shimming the front end of the car forward. So I'm going to put these threaded rods in so that it sits on these and can slide forward and not essentially fall off. So I think I want to put it in that one there. We've got about 100 mil more space to work with now. So now I need to detension the belt so I can slip that off, and then I need to unbolt the AC compressor, move that out of the way, and then we're there, ready to go, get it unbolted. It's literally hanging on by a thread. Give me just a little bit more. They're so close. Please. Hey. So, now that we've got the original alternator out, this is now the stage where we do the big three. So this is power base 0 gauge power cable, oxygen free copper. And this is going to be my power cable essentially from the alternator to the battery. I'm going to get the snake skin on for now. I've cut it roughly to length, and then we'll route it round and see where we go from there. So that's our earth cable. We can literally just copy that over to the 0 gauge. See the difference, even though this one is thicker than the other cable, is still no match for the 0 gauge. is obviously upgraded to 0 gauge, replaced the power cable that runs into the buzz bar for the factory fuse box, kept the factory cable for the starter motor, and then upgraded the earth cable from the engine to the chassis, 0 gauge, and battery to the chassis, 0 gauge also. It's been a long day, it's 4:45. Got to try and get this in, might be a late night. Right, we are done, finally. I'm not going to say to you it was easy. It was a bit of a pig, I'm not going to lie. A lot to do, but I managed to get it done. And I'm no mechanic, so, but don't come asking me to do your alternator changes now, because I'm not going to do it. Now the last thing to do is pull it out, give it a wash because it is filthy, and then we'll run through everything that we've done. Right, we are done. It's all spick and span, all the work's been done. Oh, it was a mission, not gonna lie to you, but at least it's done now. So let's go over what we've actually done. First thing we did was the exhaust. That was plain sailing. Let me show you how that sounds. Right, so that was the Milltek catback non-res system. On these cars, they're not particularly loud, as you've probably just heard, mostly because this car has 2 cats and then like a center resonator box that doesn't get deleted. But I'm pretty happy with it. I wasn't looking for anything too loud, too obnoxious, so definitely happy with that. Now the next thing we did was the intake, so let me show you that. So this is the full Pipercross intake kit. So it consists of elbow coming from the turbo, 1 single piece pipe going into the Pipercross foam filter, and then we've got the nice heat shield there as well. This actually sounds wicked, so let me show you that. How good does that sound? And then finally, we've done the most pain in the bit, the alternator upgrade. So we got the fresh, brand new alternator in there. This is the 270 high idle output alternator. So it's basically 270 amps at, I believe, 1200 RPM, but 200 amps at normal idle, 800 RPM. So very high output. There are bigger options out there, but I think this is a good option for what we're installing. Whilst I was there, I've done the big 3 upgrades. So the power cable that runs from the alternator up to the battery, that's been upgraded to 0 gauge, as you can see here. We've also upgraded the earth strap from the battery to the chassis itself, so that's also 0 gauge. And then there is a cable underneath this heat shield here, which is the earth from the engine to the chassis as well. So that's all 0 gauge. It's all been snake skinned up. We've done the nice heat shrink kind of ring terminals. We've also moved some cabling from the fuse box area up to the battery post and upgraded the battery posts themselves to connections ones, so basically allowing for all of the extra bits and bobs we're adding on. So it took a while, not gonna lie to you. It took me a whole day just to do all of that, but it's now done. We now know that all our electrical system is good. Obviously battery wise we are going to upgrade that, probably to an AGM, something of better quality. This one is, I think, on its way out, to be honest, anyway. So that's going to be replaced, and then we're going to be putting a battery in the back as well. So the electrical system, the heart of it, is now done. Right guys, so that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. My hands are sore, dirty from all the manual labour I've been doing, but it'll all be worth it in the end. Now, next episode, we're finally going to start putting some audio in this car. Obviously, we're still waiting for the boss man to give the go ahead on some other bits, but the HCCA amp, everything, that's still a given. We're still definitely doing that, but we're still not sure on what speakers we're going to be installing and how many of them, and vice versa with that. So what else left to be done? Front bumper. As you've probably seen in this episode or other episodes, it's a bit of a state at the moment. Every time I jet wash this car, more lacquer keeps flying off. So we need to get that sprayed. Rear bumper has a bit of lacquer peel as well, so we're going to get that sorted. But visually, the car is essentially done. Everything else is inside. So stay tuned for the next episode. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.